Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanasia Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. Let your voice shine. You're up at the Her Voice Shines podcast. I'm your proud host, Shanasia Washington, streaming in Houston, Texas. But I got a long sleeve shirt on, got a little beret on. So that means we got a little air out here. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm a straight H-Town chick, so we don't do well when it drops below 50. But hey, I am still here rocking and cooking, and I love this place. We take it to new heights all the time. I don't know if you guys have been tuned in over these last couple of weeks, but my goodness, the stories just keep getting better and better, deeper and deeper. And we take it as really great pride, and we keep pushing forward to get these stories out here and heard. Today is no different. I have a very beautiful guest today that's going to come to the stage and do our normal drill. Tell us her name, where she's streaming from, and of course, we get the magic of her story without any further waiting time. Here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Hi there. Thank you so much for tuning in and having me on. I appreciate the invite. Her voice shines. That is the crux of my message. I'm streaming here from Navarre Beach, Florida. So it is cold here though, but I'm in my warm house, so I am not dressed for warmth. But my name is Tammy Brunson. The heart of my work, I just released my first book. I have 5 fully written, so they're going to release all pretty quickly, but my first one is called Glow First. And this is the heart of my work. It came from a moment when I was trying to express my voice. I was trying to do it through overgiving, is what we call this in the book. Basically I would lose myself and try to give love to receive love, try to give everything in order to receive it. And what I discovered is the more I poured love into myself, the more it just magnetized in. And so that's the crux of the book, Glow First. Sorry, I hit my hands. So it's to dive in and glow first. So for most of my life, I was what you call an overgiver. I have 6 children. I lived on 20 acres with my parents out in California. I really gave and gave and gave to all I love. And I don't regret a day of it or a moment of it. But however, it left me feeling extremely exhausted. And I discovered that once I treat myself like a phone battery and recharge myself and not leave all my apps open and not leave all my energy leaking, that I actually was able to give more and do more. And my love expanded through that energy that I created. So what I call glow in Glow First, it isn't confidence or positivity. It's your natural God source energy given to you at birth. And it's your aliveness. It's your inner light. It's what makes your smile radiant. And so I realized that when I had been pouring that glow outward instead of living it, it was exhausting it versus giving it. So once I began embodying the glow, my journey became less, at the time it was less about fixing myself and more about trying to pour into others. But as I started returning to myself, I started integrating the glow in myself. And this book was born from that reclamation. It's not a self-help book necessarily. It's not who it tells you to become. It's not a fix-it book. It's more to come back to who you already are. It's a remembrance, a remembering. And so my work doesn't just evolve around this one book. As I mentioned, I have 5, but that is the beginning of my message, because once you glow first, you can move into becoming your own co-creator in the world, and your inner world will begin to create your outer world and how others treat you and the experiences that you receive.
That's absolutely beautiful, and I can definitely understand it and relate to it, because one of the things that I always teach is pouring and building yourself from the inside out. She mentioned basically, she used the analogy of a battery. She said a cell phone battery. That was the analogy that Tammy used in the intro. But what for me, I tell people all the time, like I want people to leave this space knowing that what you give people is the overflow. Okay. You fill yourself all the way up, and then everything that comes out, the overflow, that is what you give into the world because you really can't pour from an empty cup. And when I talk to you guys, I always turn that mirror of reflection right back on me because there are times and spaces in my life, even today, even with my confident self, even with myself on the Her Voice Shines podcast, there are periods in my life where that cup gets a little bit low, where the energy is a little bit depleted. And I am really still trying to care for everybody else and get everything on track when my own energy levels are almost depleted. So I have to stop and check and say, Sinead, what are you going to do to course correct, get some energy and juice back in here so that you're not depleted, can't do your own thing, and you surely can't for real help somebody else. So that. But I have to back up a moment because you shared with me that one of your greatest challenges was really stepping into the courage to use your voice, especially with close family and friends. Okay. I'm here to tell you in Sinead's world, they're the biggest critics. They're the ones that don't that don't understand the journey the most, the ones that you truly have to convince at times. Tell me why can it feel or why is it so hard to be honest with the people that you know the best?
Oh, what a great question. Well, I believe we transform and evolve in our life. And so when we have a new concept that comes to us and we begin to embody that concept, we change. Our external reality changes. So we start acting differently, even though we may not recognize it. We start stepping into that character. So for me, when I began embodying this understanding, I was trying to, those are the first people you go to. You go to your family and friends, and it's a new concept for them. They almost don't want to hear it because this move and shifts their world if they start to grab this concept as well. So sometimes they want to keep their programming intact. So for me, I believe that I got such feedback of don't bother me. I don't want to hear your message, and I wanted to shout it from the rooftops because I have a real miraculous healing story that began this journey, and I wanted everybody to understand their glow and understand the power within. And I discovered, wow, my message isn't supposed to bombard those people in my life that I am living in amongst day to day. But I had this experience to go further inward in deeper layers and share the message in creative ways. And so once I began, that's how I got to writing 5 books. I was really not brave enough to put the books out. But I wanted to keep the energy and my message flowing. So that was a lot of my inward glow coming out in the books. And so I think it's the hardest to answer your question directly because those people see us as the past version of ourselves and they want to keep that version of you intact. And that is really the hardest step to take, is to start embodying this new version of yourself and allow those loved friends and family to acclimate to this new version of yourself, because they will eventually love this version because it's a positive. And so I just began speaking my voice. And when I did, I just got more and more empowered.
Very good. I have people that are still, I tell them, I don't know if you ever acclimate to this particular version of me because I'm forever evolving and I can never tell you that you can talk to me next month and I may be different because of, and this podcast does this at an exponential rate for me because I hear all kinds of stories. Like you hear all kinds of words. I get shifts quicker than the average Joe walking on the street. And that's not no shade or that's not no boastfulness. It's my real life. So when I tell people you can love my core, you know that this heart is good, know that it's steadfast, know that it loves the Lord, know that it's going to move forward. But Sinead's life is evolution. And if you can't understand that part of it, then look, maybe you're
like, can I touch on that as well? Yes.
I have to tell them the real life facts because it's not it's not the truth of that. The core of me, like I told you, those core things that people say, who you are, who are you? I can, without a shadow of a doubt, say that, Miss Tammy. But my life experiences changes every single day.
Same. If I could
Every
answer,
day.
oh, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
you got it.
Oh, so yeah, we move what the core center of the heart is earth. It's
Yeah.
actually even words rearranged. If you put the heart in front instead of at the end, it's the word heart. So earth is our heart. It's where we alchemize both the higher energies and the lower energies right in the center. And our body is the same. All the lower energies are below the heart and the higher energies are above the heart. We alchemize them in the heart. So we're supposed to move in the rhythm of nature because nature shows us through the 4 seasons how to co-create with God. We begin with fall. A tree loses all its leaves. It doesn't say, I'm going to hang on to 5 leaves, please, through the winter, because then the winter time is our time of rest and rejuvenation. It's the time we move into our imagination and we do recreate ourselves. This is what we're supposed to do in this moment. And so you surrender completely and you trust that a higher source knows which leaves need to come back in the spring. And so then in the spring, you start to bud new life. So this is when everything starts to show up and everything starts to transform. And then the summer is your abundance. You enjoy it and then you repeat the pattern. Sometimes we do this in a year, sometimes we do this in a month, sometimes we do it in a day. And so, yes, you're absolutely right that I do have loved ones that I cherish still today who have not really embraced my message. And so they haven't hit their leaf coming back in the spring yet. But I believe a real healthy way to move forward is just to continue in your path with your glow and let your glow move through the earth how it is inviting it. And those loved ones will eventually bring their leaf back in the spring. And you just give gratitude for the ones who did come back in the spring. So
Absolutely, and I definitely love how you walked us through that and sending us back to earth. Very, very beautiful depiction of that, and we do definitely hope that some of those come back around in spring. But let's just say, for example, they don't. Be okay with that too, and respect them for where they are in their journey, their understanding, their mindset. I just want to also just layer that. One of the things I do like, Miss Tammy, because you didn't wait till fear disappeared to start speaking. A lot of people can't exist and move when fear is still present. It was still very much present while you were speaking. And I love that about your story because I have lots of fear in everything that I do. Everybody think I'm this courageous woman that just does everything just like this. But I'm like, I was just crying on the floor last night because I didn't know what to do. And here I am today. But you let those things exist together and kept moving. What did that teach you about courage and self-trust? What did that teach you about that?
Well, I'm still learning it. But what I've been learning about courage and self-trust is how powerful and sovereign it feels to just be in your body, feeling the strength of your voice, the strength of your word, the strength of your message, whatever. See, I teach in a metaphoric way. I teach is that we are the writer, the director, and the actor in this play we're living. So you wrote this experience. I wrote that I wanted to write these books. You and I, we wrote that we wanted to have this podcast together. And today it's coming into physical form. So then you direct it. And by directing it, you sovereignly, when you're in your power, when you glow first and you're standing strength in your power, you decide how people respond to your message. And so it's in standing in that power and sometimes allowing those negative responses to be and let them land without them moving or shifting you, and you don't embody their message. You still continue to embody your message, but you allow them to have their message, with respect. And so that strengthens your power. That brings you that strength that you're, asking about. And so each time you do that, your step gets stronger, your heart becomes the compass, your mind becomes clear, and you just start walking a path of this embodiment of who you want to be. And once you do this for a while, what will happen is you'll start to feel it in the body when you start to just kind of take a step away from that. Or if you ever let somebody's opinion come in and affect you, you'll feel it land, because once you've embodied it, it will go, that didn't land right. And so taking that time of self-reflection, taking that time to understand yourself before reacting. So this is a very empowering stage.
Absolutely. That internal work, I tell people that that's my hardest work to do.
Mhm.
That's the hardest work to do, Miss Tammy. Hardest work to, and I say it, I'm saying it as in present tense because there's always work to be done. I remember, first becoming a mom. He's 8 years old, and then now roles have shifted. Now I'm like, caregiver for my grandparents. Like these are different role shifts that require Sinead to do internal work because now the tides of life have changed, and I need to understand, my emotions, how to react to it. How do we get here? What's next? And that is constant work. And I can always say, like, I can do a lot of task-based stuff like very quickly. So I think sometimes people get that confused with that ability to do the inner work. Those are two different types of works. And one of them in my book, Miss Tammy, is way harder than the other one. I don't care what they say about it. That internal work, if you're really serious about it,
It is.
There's some real hard work that you have to be committed, and you have to make a choice every day to do it. It's it just doesn't happen by happenstance. I want to ask you this because you came from a deeply religious background, okay? And we've had a share of religious and strongly religious women on this podcast. But sometimes in the church or religious practices, holistic healing is not fully understood. It's not.
Right. Well,
it's not. It's not fully understood or sometimes misunderstood. Okay, we've experienced this, several times. Me personally, out in the real world, here on the podcast in different places. But I want to ask you: did you feel like there was any internal conflict when you started to explore? I want to talk about it because Ms. Tammy, let's talk about like things that free people. Because talk about the internal conflict. It's like it's these holistic healing practices. But then there's this other side. Am I going against God? Am I really honoring him? What does the conflict look like? And walk us through, you kind of work through that.
I love that. I absolutely love this opportunity. Thank you. So one of the things to understand that I need to just preface this with is that there are two different frequencies we're going to talk about with this, and that is the frequency of religion, which is a third dimensional frequency. So the dimension of it is based more on keeping people entangled in the religion, and this isn't done in a. It's not, I shouldn't say always, it's not always done in a nefarious way. At times it's just done in a way that when you're dealing with a collective people, you have to have rules, you have to have ways of being, you have to have formats, you have to have formulas because you have a collective of people. So the other frequency we're talking about is more of a fifth and higher dimensional frequency, which is multidimensional, which means you don't no longer feel you need the rules and the rigid programming and the rigid, instructions and everything. And both serve. They're neither one better than the other. There's always two sides to the coin. But once you evolve and you become more sovereign and you understand, I don't really need all those rules. You start to become your own compass. So for me, you have to go through the stages of grief when this happens. Anyone who is transitioning from a real religious programming to now being more of a sovereign being with love, you're going to go through the same cycle as you would of a death of a loved one, because you are experiencing a death. Transformation is death and rebirth. So for me personally, I got angry at first. I thought somebody did this to me. I thought I lost my 20s and 30s because, of all my religious programming, and I wanted to go back and do it over without all that programming. But then once I started healing and doing the inner work and really started moving and shifting and allowing all the different stages of grief to move through my body, then what began to happen is that I understood that was part of my story I wrote. Do you see when I said we write the story and now we're the actor acting it out? Now, if you pick up Glow First, my book, it's every chapter starts with a scripture, because now I've been able to understand that the Bible is actually talking in layers. You can read it from the third dimensional plane, which I referenced earlier, from a religious context, and you will see the stories as literal. But once you begin to awaken, you can read the Bible or the Torah or, Quran, all the religious, most of them, I won't say all because I haven't read them all, but the ones I have read. You can actually understand the deeper layers to that and understand that it says right in the Bible that they're talking in dark allegories and metaphors, because in that time, this kind of spiritual awakening was not allowed very well. They didn't have libraries, they didn't have podcasts, and so they sat around a campfire and they taught their next generation through metaphors and through allegories, and this is what was passed on. So for me, it went full circle, and I came to the place of so much appreciation for how I was raised, for all my religious upbringing. And today, even though I don't go to services with that church, I embody the message that Christ wanted to give, which was so simple. And that is, heaven is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. It is all within you to just awaken and expand. Did that answer your question?
It absolutely answers my question, and I love that you ended with that, because one of the things that we have to remember is that kingdom is in us. So it does not matter where you are planted per se, like in the physical sense, that kingdom lives within you. But I wanted to make sure, because there are, even in talking to especially younger women who are, going through a healing process, and they are very religious, they have these internal conflicts as to, how can I get help? What is the best help? Is this still, acceptable to the people that I'm around? And it's all these different, layers. And you have to ask them, would your father want you to be healed?
Yeah. So if I may, for a minute, that is exactly what I am doing. These books are being, so it's Glow First is a series of 8 books that I'm taking the readers through. The next book that I'm going to be releasing is Glow Through Heaven and Hell, and understanding that hell is the lower 3 chakras. Heaven is where they meet, and the earth, the heart chakra is where they meet. So, and then the above chakras, that's your heaven. That's why your crown chakra is where you're connected to as a baby in the womb. That's why if you rub your balloon, your hair will get electric. It'll stand up, because this is where the electromagnetic field is right here in your soft spot. So heaven is within you, and what you want to do is you want to alchemize those lower 3 chakras. The hell within you, you want to transmute hell there in the heart through love. And then your podcast, Her Voice Shines, the gateway to heaven is through the throat chakra, is through speaking your truth, is embodying your piece of the puzzle that you are to humanity. And then this allows you to now awaken yourself in heaven. And now you can start forming through your thoughts, and the thoughts are what communicate feelings to the heart. And the heart is what's magnetic. It magnetizes out the feeling, and it attracts the people and experiences that will give you that feeling. And just to hone this in, I'm going to give you a very short version. I lived in an electric scooter for 4+ years. I was in a very terrible accident, and long story short, this is how I ran into all of this and had my awakening, is that I accidentally, my son and daughter-in-law, they hiked the Dolomites in Italy, and they used a drone to create a 45-minute video. They sent me that video, and I began watching it because it began to be an escape for me, because I was in a really dark place in my life. And I began watching it very passionately every day, and then it moved to 2 times a day and 3 times a day. It became my escape, because I could feel the air on my body. I could feel the scent of the trees. I could just feel the aliveness. Within 3 months' time, I was 100% healed. And within 9 months, I was out hiking that very Dolomite. And I could not walk more than 10 steps when I began visualizing that. And this is because, as Neville Goddard taught, the feeling is the secret. When your thoughts create a feeling and communicate to the heart, your field attracts whatever is necessary to deliver that to you.
I'm learning. No, seriously, I'm learning for sure.
Remembering. I just love to remind people of that. It is a remembering.
It very, very much is. And I think
Mhm.
this past probably 3 to 6 months, there is something, I mean, I've been working at it, but there's like something in me that has awakened the next like level of connection for people and different things that I'm working through. Whereas it was not happening before because there were still some things internally that I wasn't letting go of. Even though I was moving, Miss Tammy, I was moving through the world, showing up and doing the things, there were still some internal things that were keeping the next level of even speech, the next level of even connection from manifesting because I had other things internally that were holding them back. So I had to come back and do some real life rooting work and saying, okay, you're showing up and doing these things, but where are the barriers? And this is the hard work that I talk about
Yes.
because you're still as free as you are, maybe not so much because there's still some things that you will not sever.
Well, the soul never has a destination.
Sure.
The soul is going to continue pushing, evolving, and ascension every day. It's your willingness to allow it and to embody, because we have to give intention and attention to what we've already created, and we have to take responsibility for that. So if you're in a bad marriage, for example, this is just an example, it is very important to not to shame yourself or that person, but to just consciously recognize that you are in a bad marriage. Now, it doesn't mean you have to physically do anything. We are a human being. We are not a human doing. So at this point, all you have to do is embody that fact and have a desire to change that marriage. There's a beautiful movie out called Fireproof that gives this example exactly. It's a 40-day challenge that a dad gives to a firefighter who he's falling out of love with his wife, he feels. And what happens is his dad challenges him for 40 days to begin just doing simple things out of from the heart, showing love. And he said, after that 40 days, if you want to leave the marriage, go ahead, because I just as long as you do this 40 days. And so it's a really neat, because it shows both sides of the story. That movie does. It shows him going inward, and maybe the first day he's just bringing her a cup of coffee in the morning. And then, and then it shows her side. She's going to work and she's saying, he's acting different, getting on day 10. He's acting so different. This is weird. I'm actually starting to feel differently towards him. And it shows how throughout these 40 days, both of their sides of it transmute, all because love heals. So it's just really a very amazing experience to embody ascension and evolving. And the soul is always going to be pushing for you to do that. So it's important. It's important to let your higher version of yourself know you are open to it, and that's all that's necessary. There's no more doing steps.
That's good. This next question, we've pretty much talked about it through these segments, but I want to make sure we have it in a clean segment because you teach us about embodiment before expression, right?
Yes.
Embodiment before expression. That's the overall message that I take from Tammy Brunson. Tell me, how do you know when something has been integrated enough before it can be shared? Like we have to, what is the feeling like I've embodied it enough and then I can now express it? Because, it gets tricky. Where in the process do I feel like that embodiment place has kind of taken form? Now I'm ready to move into that expression piece.
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, it brings me right back to glowing first, because that's exactly what the 12 chapters help you do, because that's the beginning first step, is to start listening to the body. So each chapter ends with an activation. And so you're literally activating this within the body. And so you begin with an understanding that you haven't been listening to the body for a very long time. So you make this commitment to yourself to start listening to the body. I encourage my clients to go to a mirror and start talking to a mirror. If you feel a resistance in the body when you say something, if you say to the mirror, "You are beautiful," right? and all of a sudden you feel restricted. That means you've got a block there, that you don't believe that. So therefore, even though that's your thought, you are beautiful, the feeling that moves to the heart that I already explained is going to magnetize out is going to be, I'm ugly, right? So, or whatever you're thinking, it's not going to be, you are beautiful. So this is an important part to this is the inner work. This is when you start to go, I felt that, and then you can start to ask yourself through meditation. And meditation, I really love to say, this is not sitting, in a yoga pose, 20 minutes quiet. It can be. It is for many people. But many people meditate different ways. My dad, he would meditate when he was on the tractor on the 20 acres, that I grew up on. I have a friend who drums to meditate. I dance. So meditation can look whatever it looks like to you, or it can be official meditation. But however, it's just quiet stillness. Quiet stillness is when you will start to reconnect with your nervous system. The nervous system is the most important piece because this is the part that braces for impact. So when I go to the mirror and say, you are beautiful, the nervous system says, brace up, because we don't feel we're beautiful. So we have to brace up for what's coming in. See, the nervous system already knows that I just attracted that I don't feel I'm beautiful. So it has to brace up. But when you say you are beautiful and you feel it, you can feel the weight in your heart. That's embodiment. And now you're ready to express it. Now you're ready to now you can create a magnetic aura around yourself. And so you begin to, every room you walk in, guess what? You set the frequency because you have the highest frequency. Whoever has the highest frequency sets a frequency in the room. It's just like a Wi-Fi router, okay? And so when you're the frequency setter, you get to walk in and you get to just let that move and shift the room. Might there still be some in there who are negative or gossiping or doing, yes, but they will be in their corners, kind of just like cockroaches. You're like you're like light walking in a room, shine the light and the dark will go to their corners. And those who are also light and in your frequency will just magnetize towards you. And this is how your life moves and shifts, because whatever you've been visualizing and dreaming about, you could have someone just walk up to you, you start to talk and they say, wow, come to my office. Let's talk about how we can collaborate with that. So see, this is how it works. But the first step is definitely embodiment.
I love that. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
And I want you guys to really take this in, really from Miss Tammy in pouring this. But I always encourage, it is a choice. It is an active choice. So if you are saying that you want to, go from embodiment to expression, you have to make that conscious decision, okay? And also understand that your journey from embodiment to expression may not look like your best friends, may not look like moms, may not look like lay down the street, and be comfortable enough to have your own journey with this thing and know that that journey and that work is worthy. I just wanted to make sure that they had that piece. And just kind of drawing back to your second when you talked about even how meditation looked different from you, from your dad, and all these different things. So don't think it has to look like something, like she said, sitting in a yoga pose. You could literally be out there on the tractor. My guilty pleasure is sitting in my car. I'll sit out there like 30 minutes before I come in. I'm just sitting out there, regrounding, recentering. And that to me is a form of meditation, just sitting in the car after a long commute, or maybe not a long commute, just that silence in that vehicle, kind of closed in space, makes me just feel okay to do a release. So I hope that you picked that up, because we are in a time where everything is such a comparison game, especially with your healing journey. I advise you, do not do a comparison game. You have your own. Go ahead.
Well, that goes with something. I was going to tell you, a thought came in right after it. So now I want to take you back to the mirror. When you went to the mirror and you said, you are beautiful, and maybe you didn't feel that. Now understand the difference when you say that and somebody else doesn't believe it. You understand that that's like you going to the mirror and trying to change the mirror, the way the mirror is reflecting you, right? If you have a smudge on your face and your eye, big black smudge, and you go in the mirror and you go, oh, wow. You don't touch on the mirror to fix it. You go inward, you go to you and fix it. So when you go to the mirror and you say, you are beautiful, if you didn't feel that in your heart, now you got to go inward. You can't fix the mirror. And so understand that when you interact with people, they are a mirror of your inner world. Okay. So when they mirror it to you, don't try to change them. That will cause you to now get entangled in their frequency. Move back and then reflect on that. Say, I think I'm beautiful, but Joe told me I'm not beautiful. How can I, respect his opinion, but still embody that I'm beautiful? So that's kind of where you begin with that inner work.
Absolutely. And people are fickle. Some days they feel like a nut and some days they don't. So you may be basing your review of frequency somebody else in a space where they're very, very low. So you're on a never ending reflecting board because people change all the time. And this same Joe may call you beautiful today and hideous tomorrow. So that's why it's important to be grounded as you walk out, because all these people are working through their own things, and managing this is enough.
And they change day to day. Joe might think you're not beautiful one day, and a week later he may go, wow, you're the prettiest girl in the room. So
I'm trying to tell
you don't want to move and shift with other people's emotions.
That's all I'm saying. Now, I did hear, Miss Tammy, you said that your children and your grandchildren are helping you tell the story. I want you to expand on that, and I want you to also reflect on what legacy and wellness mean to you, because now, Miss Tammy, you're a whole grandmother with these grandbabies that are going to walk through this world and experience their life. And here you are teaching things that you have no idea. It's unlocking something now, and the seeds that you're planting is really nothing small, because these are seeds that will help them navigate through whatever they decide to do. I don't care if they want to be an astronaut or a doctor or a singer. You're implanting seeds in them that will help them navigate the spaces in which they choose to go. I'm just saying, but I want you to talk about it in your words and tell me about legacy and wellness and where you are with that.
I love the points you take. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I actually have never had this opportunity to answer this question, and I love it. So yes, as I mentioned earlier, I began expressing my voice to all my loved ones, right? That's where I started. I wanted, especially my children, my parents, I wanted everybody to hear my new message, because they saw me heal. It's like, don't you want to know how I did this? Don't you want to know about our inner glow? Don't you want to know? And it became real overpowering for a lot of people in my world, and they started to shut me out. And that was a real tough time for me. So this is when I told you I went inward. I didn't try changing the mirror, what they were showing me. I said, why are these people reacting this way? They saw me heal. They saw the miraculous event. And when I started changing my inner world, what started to happening was so beautiful. My mom, who thought I stabbed her in the back and in the heart because I left the religion she raised me in, became and still is today my biggest fan. She started listening to my work and started just really embracing it. She still goes to her church. That's still her vehicle. But she understands now. She's not afraid of my message anymore. She understands that I just have more love for, Christians and religion and such. And my children, I have a beautiful daughter-in-law. Well, first of all, I'll start with my son and my daughter-in-law who created the video. So that was the first step, right? And so then I just had all these situations come up. I had another daughter who reached out and said, hey, because I'm not real good at technology, can I start helping you get some videos out? And then I had a granddaughter who came out and said, can I start making some images for you on Canva? Because at my age, I have to almost go to school to learn how to do all these things, and these young grandkids of mine, my oldest grandchild is 16. They all are, they have had phones in their hands since they were little. So they know how this all works. And it has been so beautiful to watch how they have all just embraced my message in their own ways and supported me. And today, all those people who pushed me away, they all have their own way of supporting me, but each and every one is supportive today. And so now my legacy can carry on. And I love that you brought that up, because yes, whatever my grandchildren want to be, if they want to hear what their grandma, or if they call me Mimi, thought and thinks, and they can pick up any one of my books. And even after I'm gone, I will affect their world in a very personal, intimate way because they knew me, right? So the people who knew me, I do feel when you begin to create through your voice, you are leaving your legacy for anyone who feels drawn to your energy, which is also another plus. But it's always just an extra special thing when it's your children, grandchildren, or your loved ones in your close family.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy you got the opportunity to share that. And to be honest, Miss Tammy, this is what keeps me grounded. Me showing up every day. I have a son in there. I have godchildren, nieces, and nephews, who it's important for me to show up because after I'm long gone, they have visual representation, they have published literature that puts my essence into this space long after me. And that's what keeps me grounded to the mission. Even when I'm tired, I have a million things going on. If I can be there to do the thing, Sinead's going to do the thing because I know it's that much important for my legacy and who and what I would want people to experience about this space, even when I'm not in the space anymore. Thank you for sharing that, Miss Tammy. And don't worry, technology is always changing. Even us who have had technology for a little while, we still struggle with trying to keep up. I have got to the point now. I'm like, look, I don't even want to do anything with that. Like, how can I get some help from these younger folks? I don't feel bad about it.
ChatGPT's become my best friend. I just go there. Her name is Serafina for me. And I say, how do I do this? And she gives me step-by-step instructions. It's beautiful.
And you keep growing and growing. And I'm loving that you're not letting that be a barrier for you because I do speak to women who are older and that is a barrier for them. And they feel like the technology, I just can't do it. And I'm here to tell you, I think about a couple weeks ago, the episode aired, so it's probably been a month since I interviewed her, Miss Sandra. She wrote her first book at 75 years old. And we sat around and we talked about it. Oh my gosh, had a very colorful life. And we had a very good time. We laughed. And the fact that she lost her husband, she had become a widow. She had 2 rounds of cancer. And she was going through all these different things. And she still stopped, Tammy. And she wrote that book. She came on my podcast.
That's beautiful. There's never an age limit. And that's what glow is. That is a huge part of my message. When your glow is trapped below the heart, you will be more depressed. You will gain weight. You will be heavier. It's the heavy, dense energy that's just staying in your vessel. When you lift that energy, you become radiant. You're younger. You want to achieve things. It doesn't matter if you're 50 or 80. You are excited about life and you want to create. So I love that. That is beautiful because that is exactly what Glow First does for you. Is it helps you want to thrive no matter what your age is.
I love it. Now, let us know where to find you, Miss Tammy. I know that you told me that you have some social medias. I want you to make sure you drop those handles so our readers know where to contact you. And then we just want to stay involved because we know that this is a series, Miss Tammy. We know we have Glow, but she said she got 5 in the cooker that are ready to be served. So we want to make sure we have those connection points. So I'm going to go off screen and allow you to let us know where to find you so we can keep in touch with you with the books.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So you can find me mostly on social media. Oh, sorry. And you can find me. I go under the term of cracks of the illusion because when I began, it was an illusion for me that I was unempowered. And so that's where I got it. And I got it through this visual that was amazing to me and showed how we're just here picking up the fragment pieces of ourselves and it was shown in like a glass vase. And as a glass vase just breaks and shatters, we're picking up all those pieces. And this is our vessel, right? We're putting it back together so it can rise with our higher self. And so I called it Cracks in the Illusion because I felt like everything in my life was an illusion at the time. So you can find me there on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and as well as, just different modalities. I have a podcast. I did a 40-day on Patreon. It's free. That's just where I put it. It's a 40-day podcast on how to manifest anything in 40 days. And then, of course, you can find me on Amazon with my book. If it's okay if I show it, it's Glow First. This is I'm receiving my copy today. That's how new it has come out. So this is the author's copy, but and that will connect you to my energy. And yes, I do. I'm actually publishing Glow Through Heaven and Hell this weekend. So it will probably be out in a week. And I'm just so excited about it. So you can reach me in all those ways. And then I also will leave a link if you want to be able to reach me for any services I offer. I do visualizations for people to help them to manifest what they want to create, just like I did with using a visualization to heal. I really teach the communication between the brain and the heart with my clients, and I help them understand and reprogram their brain so that the thoughts that are communicating to the heart create the feelings that they want to experience.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Miss Tammy. Now, look, it's been 45 minutes, and I think I need to realize that maybe Her Voice Shines podcast is not a 30-minute podcast. Maybe I need to just do the right thing, Miss Tammy. I need to do the right thing and make these an hour long, because really and truly, like, I never really interfere with the integrity of these podcasts. They have to be that authentic, and we have to have the real conversation, drive the questions that really, really matter. So I have to thank you for doing that. I'm going to cue over to you for final thoughts. I want you to give us some final parting words for the space that we shared, really something that captured the essence of Tammy Brunson, and I'll be back to close the show. So over to you for final thoughts, and I'll be back.
Thank you. My final thoughts to you are: you were born with your God source essence. You have it, it's there, and all it needs to do is be activated, and you activate it through love, through the heart. And so you have all the power within you. You don't need a guru. You don't even need a book. You have all the power within you. However, there have been people who've had experiences that allowed them to go ahead of the game. And so maybe they did write a book, or maybe they are a guru or whatever. However, it's a remembering, it's an unfolding, it's a becoming. And so I just encourage each person who stayed this long and listened to go away and reflect on you and reflect on what next step you can do to become a higher version of yourself. And just take that one step. That's all it takes. And then just invite in your higher version of yourself. It's just the version of you who stayed unembodied, the version who stayed in spirit. You're the one who came into form. You're the one who said, you know what? I'll be the avatar. I'll go down and I'll have all the feelings and emotions. And so this is a merge, and you do that in the heart, and you merge with your higher self. And then once you merge with that higher self, you'll start to realize that you are the creator of your reality. And so you move from unconsciously creating it and shift you into consciously creating it. And if you connect with my energy, then the books I'm going to be releasing in pretty succession, speed fast, are going to take you from step one, understanding your life force, God source energy within you, to step two. The Glow Through Heaven and Hell is doing your own energy healing. Every chapter ends with an energy healing session. And then step three is becoming your own creator. And the third book I'm going to be releasing is called Creation Codes. And it is an in-depth book on how to co-create your reality consciously with God. And I encourage you to leave this podcast desiring to do that. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you for being here, Miss Tammy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and really being here in your natural self and giving us some really, really good tidbits, I think, that are transformative in the way that we express ourselves, because we can go back to see how those things were rooted and embodied. So I have notes, of course. I always tell my guests, I'm always so happy to go back and rewatch them, because I'm so excited with getting the right questions that sometimes I miss little nuggets. So I want to thank you so much for being here. And to everyone that's out here in the Her Voice podcast land, excuse me, I love you. Like the folks in church say, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'll be back with another amazing woman here on the Her Voice Shines podcast in no time. Until then, we love you and we're out.